My name is Sonja Burpo, or I'm Cassie's mom. I'm Colton's mom. I'm Kobby's mom. I don't really have a name sometimes. I'm also Mama Sonja. Cassie played softball for 4 years in high school and prior to that, and so I was mama to all of them. And then sometimes I'm called Mama Bear. Because I take care of, like when we're on the road, I make sure we have band members that travel with us that could be our kids. They're like 20 years old, and one's going to turn 30 this year. And so I just kind of make sure all of them are taken care of, and then I tell them, we ain't going to do that again. And so the thing is our security that travels with us coined Mama Bear. And so when I'm back in Imperial, I will go into the store he works at, and he goes, "Hey, Bear, how are you?" I'm just like, oh my goodness, if anybody can hear you in the store right now, they're going to think I'm a horrible, horrible person. You're calling me a bear. But I think, Mama, that kind of explains it. I'll love you and cuddle you, but if you mess up or mess with one of mine, I'm gonna take you out. So I have 3 kids here on earth. I have Cassie. She's 18. She's a freshman. She's our first one to leave home. She is down at Victory Bible College in Tulsa, Oklahoma. She's 9 hours away. So that has been challenging. After spending 4 years following her, I just love her to death. She's really grown a lot. It's been good for her because she's lived in Imperial all her life, since 11 months old. And so for her to actually go to a town that has stoplights has been interesting. And stores that stay open past 6 or 7 or 8 or 9 or even 24 hours has been interesting. And but she's also a college student, so she has to also figure out how to manage her money, her gas, and all that. And she's studying worship right now. She's a very smart girl. She was an FFA. I don't know if you know that, Future Farmers of America. And they won state in Parley Pro, which is running a meeting according to rules, and they were going to go to nationals, but one of the girls in the team decided not to go, so she was really crushed. So she got on another team next year, did a business marketing plan with won it with 2 girls, but the 2 girls were on the Parley Pro team that won, so she ended up grounding up 2 boys. And the 3 of them went to nationals along with the part of the pro team, and they ended up being in the top 4, and they got 3rd in the whole state, the whole nation. So that was pretty cool. She's an awesome kid. I really love her, and she has a love for the Lord, and she's really grown a lot. And it's kind of nice too because she likes us better now because she's left the house. She appreciates us more, you know. Then I have another son. He's 15. We are what's today? We're almost a month away from him driving. He's so ready to drive. Colton. Colton's our second one. He's a sophomore. He's taller than both of us. He loves music. He is a music person. If you ever looked at his playlist, it's soundtracks. It's he doesn't like country. That's about the only thing he doesn't have on there. He'll listen to classical, listen to dubstep. He likes listening to that. He also plays the piano. He plays the trumpet and plays the French horn. Now he figured out how to play the French horn just because. And he wants to play lots more instruments. And you can see last night, and you'll see again, he has a gift for singing, and he has since as long as we've known. And he loves to do show choir. I love watching him in show choir. That's why you sing and dance, and he's actually won a couple awards for that. And he's just got a gift for music. He's a very serious kid, but he's got the satire. He's satire. When he does joke, it's like, oh, you're funny. This year, he's really grown a lot. Last 3 years have been really tough because we traveled. In 6th grade, he missed it was minimal, like 20-some days of school. His freshman year in high school, he missed like 40 days of school. And so that was challenging, trying to make sure he stayed on task. And the teachers worked with us really well, but we were promoting the movie, so it required more of our time. And then we have Kobby Lawrence. Kobby Lawrence is our 10-year-old. He's the smartest one in our family. He told Dad one day, "You know you're smarter than me, but one day I'll be smarter than you." And he is. He tells us how to run things. One day he was messing with the ice machine maker and says, I want to see how this works. I'm like, it works, leave it alone. No, I want to see how it works. Or like we were staying in a hotel one time, he goes, who takes out the trash? I'm like, the maids, who care? I mean, it goes out. He's always trying to figure out stuff. We just got back from Brazil. And yeah, that's him. If he knows the camera's on him, he will give you goofy. It's hard to get him a decent picture of him because he's just a goofball. We just came back from Brazil, and there was 12 of us traveling together, 19 bags. It was just a trip to coordinate. And our executive producer, when we got back, he goes, I know Jeff really tried and did a pretty good job, but I have a few tips for him. So I do have a picture of him where by the baggage claim, where Jeff's down kind of on his level talking to him, and Colby's giving him tips how to run the trip better next time with the 12 of us. And he has good ideas. He is our funny kid. We take him along just because. He's always doing something. His timing is impeccable. And he likes to figure things out. And unfortunately, he got sick. So he was calling me yesterday, and he had to stay home. And so it's hard for me to be here when he was sick, but I think he's doing better today. So, and he just likes to tell you how to run things and more efficiently, and he's on top of it. We also have another daughter, but she's in heaven. She's never lived here on earth. We never got the privilege of holding her. And she passed away before we even knew that she was a she. And it's always been a struggle when you fill out those medical forms, when they say, your height, your weight, do you have this? No. Do you have strokes? Do you have hypertension? And all that stuff. Then it gets down to how many pregnancies have you had? Well, I have to write down 4. And how many live births? And then, of course, you have 3 because one didn't make it. And that's tough to fill out. But we have received some healing. Miscarriage is a silent, quiet hurt that you can go to your grave with, and nobody would ever know. And it's not something like you announce. You don't wear a T-shirt, hey, I just had a miscarriage. You don't have right now the big thing is revealing the gender of your child. It's become a big party celebration. You don't reveal that, hey, we just lost a child. And so it's something hard to talk about. And I don't think it's ever really been talked about. Even back in earlier days, the mom would get sick, something would happen, go to the hospital, and they say she'll be okay, and then she came out. And sometimes even the hospitals wouldn't even acknowledge it. But even now, it's not really a subject that's talked about. There are books on it, but it's hard to go through it. When we went through our miscarriage, we had Cassie, and we were pregnant with number 2, and we were getting ready to announce to people, call our family, and tell our church that we were pregnant with number 2, and that's when I miscarried Father's Day weekend. Todd and I knew we were going to have kids. We weren't going to have a lot, but we were going to have kids. We both love kids. And so we had Cassie already, so we were thrilled. And we thought, okay, great, we have another one coming. But then Father's Day weekend, I miscarried the night before. So Todd went to church the next day, and I stayed home. It was kind of noticeable I wasn't there because we only had 12 people in our church at the time. And being a pastor's wife is really noticeable because, the pastor's wife's supposed to be there and plus had a lot of responsibilities. And so he had to be very, put on a very strong face and say, it's okay, Cassie, Sonja's okay, she'll be fine. She's just sick today. But while he was at church, I stayed home and laid in a fetal position and just cried. It was a death. It was, what did I do wrong? What did I eat wrong? Did I exercise wrong? What did I do? What did I do to cause this? And I want you to know, miscarriage is not your fault. It happens. And it was hard that day to even see hope or reality. And we prayed. We kind of accepted the fact that we weren't going to have that baby. And so we were thrilled a couple months later when we were pregnant with Colton. We still hadn't really told very many people at that time because it was very raw. And then when we got pregnant with Colton, it took a little while longer to announce to people. And we really had no one to talk to. I mean, we told our family, but my mom knew nothing about it, and Todd's mom knew nothing. So we didn't really have anybody to talk to. So it made it challenging to kind of process through that. But life goes on. We had Colton. He was healthy, did well, was born and everything. So we got focused on Cassie and Colton. Then Colton turns about 3. He gets sick. And we had just gone through a very challenging year with Todd being the sole provider, because I would work part-time but not enough to pay enough bills, and he had a broken leg. And if you notice, anytime in the film when he slides into third, he covers his ears because that crack is horrendous. And when we do watch the movie, it's very challenging to read the book because we're reliving it again, and it's sometimes hard to relive the hurt. But God doesn't waste a hurt, and God has allowed us to use our hurt to help others. And I want you to know that God doesn't waste a hurt. We all have hurts. We live here on earth. This isn't heaven. It says we're going to have tribulations and afflictions, and it's going to happen. And so when Colton got sick, Cassie was also sick, and they were both throwing up at the same time. And she got better, he didn't. And when we were starting to write the book, which we never planned to, and then the movie too, they were always asking for pictures of him being sick and in the hospital. We never took pictures. I don't think you can ever forget what I will never forget what he looked like, and just how he laid there so just sick. And then Todd was more concerned because he's used to being by the bedside of people who were dying. We finally get him to the hospital, and those, like Todd talked about last night, those screams, I will never, ever, ever, ever forget those screams. But thinking that's it. That's all. That's the last time I'm going to see of him. And I believe in the power of prayer. And I prayed to God. He's like, please help us through this. As a mother, we can fix things with a Band-Aid. We can fix things with ice pack, some medicine, or just simply a kiss or a hug. I couldn't do any of that. And I had to rely on God to take care of my baby, Colton. And an hour and a half later, he's screaming again. But when he comes out, he's not screaming for me. He's screaming for his dad. I didn't think that was right. But I got over it because he was screaming, and that meant he was awake. It is amazing how an hour and a half later, those screams were agony, and they turned into screams of joy, like, okay, he made it. But he was not out of the woods. We actually went probably a week later. We were in the elevator getting ready to go, and Dr. Holloran's chasing us down the hallway and says he can't go. He's still sick. And I just looked at him like, oh, we're leaving. No. And that's when he had his second surgery. They put him in ICU, and then he had 3 abscesses. I thought he had 2. And I was on puke patrol the whole time. I didn't miss any. I caught it all. It was awesome. And then, but we had to pack him because he was so, it was just horrible. They left him open. So we had to put stuff in, take it out, put stuff in. And that was probably the most challenging thing as a parent to deal with that. So we're in survival mode the 17 days. Colton's telling us stuff, but we just aren't listening. And then it wasn't until after he gets out of the hospital, finally, he still was weak and sick, so we had to really watch him. 4 months later, in July, he finally said, the angel sang to me, and that's when the light bulb moment came on. Something happened. And we knew we had a miracle. We knew that. We just didn't know it was big. Well, he started talking to us, and as boys are boys, they talk a little bit, and then they leave. So he would tell us something and we'd listen, and we wouldn't ask him something. And he's like, I'm done. Can I go play? And it doesn't get better when they get older. We know men don't talk, they talk less. So, but we wanted to, he would talk to us and share stuff, and we call it our shock and awe. He would come in and say something. We'd listen to him. We compare it to scripture. We're like, how did you know that? But when he came in that day and said that I had 2 sisters, that was, I will never forget that day ever. And for him to come in and say that and sort out, like, and the first thing I asked him is, who told you? Because we didn't go around telling people. Even at that point, I don't think we were really announcing to the world that we had a miscarriage. We were happy we had two kids. Colton survived the horrific time he had in the hospital. And so when he came in and had 2 sisters, I just kind of went, who told you? I was like, she's okay. And if you know Colton, if you ever met him, he's very black and white. There's no gray. This is the way it is. I would ask him, are you going to get up did you get up at 8 o'clock today? He goes, no, I got up at 7:53. How about let's just say 8 o'clock? No, it was 7:53. And he's very exact to the point. That's just the way it is. And he's always been like that. And it's only a little about this, little about this tall. And I was sitting down and I was just like, who told you I had a baby die in my tummy? He says, oh, she did. But she's okay, Mom. She's okay. Now, at that point, he did not know we had a miscarriage. How do you explain to a child that you had a baby die in your tummy? And how do you even explain to other people that you lost a baby? And she's like, it's okay, Mom. And he thought he was just telling us something that we knew, he knew, and it's going to be okay. But he did not realize the hurt that we had. And so with every fiber of my being, I tried to control my emotions, which is very challenging because it was a very deep, dark, hard subject to talk about. And he says, she's okay. She's okay. She was so happy someone from her family was here, and she wouldn't stop hugging me, Mom. Oh, and he at that time he wasn't a hugger. He's gotten a little bit better, especially with the cute girls now. At first, he didn't like being hugged by girls. Now it's not a problem. We go to wrestling meets, and in between wrestling matches, he's all sweaty. He's taking pictures with the mat maids. And so I told him at one time, I said, you need to stop that. He goes, well, I can't say no. They're cute and they asked. I was like, get to wrestling. Ignore the girls. So at that time, and even when I hugged him, he would do this. Are you done yet? No. So I keep hugging him. So we knew he was telling us the truth because he just wasn't a hugger. He's not a touchy-feely person. And he says, she's okay. And it's like, well, what does she look like? He says, well, she's got dark hair like you and dark eyes. She's a little bit smaller than Cassie, but she was bigger than me. And I was like, oh my goodness. My biggest complaint about these babies is I carry these babies for 9 months and they come out looking like Todd. Finally, I have one that looks like me, but I won't be able to see her until I, die. And so he goes, she's okay, Mom, she's okay. God adopted her, she's fine. I was like, okay, well, then I'm like, oh, it was a she. We didn't even know. I was like, well, what's her name? It's like, she didn't have a name. You didn't name her. I said, well, Colton, we didn't know she was a she. But when he told us that gave Todd and me, because Todd was in the room over here just listening in while I was interacting with him, such a peace and a sense of she's okay. After we did have the miscarriage, I had one of those ceramic babies. Todd's aunt had made a bridal one for me, but then she had this baby one that was almost lifelike and it was heavy. And I would used to carry that around in my house just to, somehow mourn and be okay. And it just kind of helped me process. And then I remember one time I was walking around the bed and I heard God say, clear as day, it's going to be okay. But I did not know God was going to give us such an awesome gift of Colton, giving us the assurance that our baby was okay. And I want you to know there were tons and tons of babies up there. When he first came back, he told us names of kids he played with. And we didn't write it down because we weren't planning to write a book. And So there was tons of kids there, and they're being taken care of, and they are okay. As mamas, I think we want to make sure our kids are safe, that they're being taken care of. And I want you to know they are safe. God's got them, and he loves them, and nothing bad's going to happen to them. But it was hard for us to accept the fact that we lost one because we love children, but we got the hope from Colton that she's okay. And then he revealed later, at that time he didn't tell us that, but he revealed later, not only when he went to heaven, that day she met him at the gate. She knew he was coming. He didn't know who she was, but she ran up to him and was so thrilled that someone from her family was there. And God does not waste a hurt. With what Colton revealed to us, and just knowing she's okay and she's going to be fine, and she's in a perfect place where she's not going to have any sickness, any illness, any hardships. And she can't wait for us to get there. The assurance of that has been awesome. And one of our deepest hurts of the miscarriage has also become one of our biggest ministries that we never planned to do. When you are born or when you have your goals in life, my goal was to go to college. I was going to marry a pastor. I was going to have kids. I was going to be a teacher. My goal wasn't to have a miscarriage. And we've gone through a lot of losses. Your goal isn't, you're supposed to outlive your kids, and stuff like that. And so my goal wasn't to have a miscarriage, but we have hurts. We have things that go on. We're here on earth. And there's going to be afflictions. There's going to be hurts. One thing right now I think I'm struggling with is I know the assurance that my daughter in heaven is okay, but I have an 18-year-old right now who had a stroke in October. And we're dealing with that, trying to figure out why she had the stroke. How can we keep her from not having another one? And so that still weighs heavy on me. How do I take care of my kiddo that's 18, 9 hours away, and she could have another one? She called us over Easter weekend, and she was having the symptoms of a stroke again. Todd buzzed down there to make sure she's doing okay. We're still looking into doctors, but I know the assurance that my other daughter, she's okay. She's fine. And God has really helped us with the miscarriage. We've given it a platform. We've been able to help. When we first did start talking about miscarriage, we were able to help a couple couples in our church. This one, they had a kid, then they suffered a miscarriage. They weren't for sure if they're going to have any more. We cried with them. Did we bring their baby back? We didn't, but we knew their pain. And sometimes our pain helps other people because they know. Because you can say, well, I know how it feels. No, you really know how it feels. And you can help journey with them. We cried with them. We prayed with them. They eventually got pregnant with another one, and I think now they have 6 children. So God really blessed them and gave them more children. When we first started going out speaking, and miscarriage is a hard subject to talk about because that's my biggest hurt. But like I said, God doesn't waste a hurt. We went to Seattle, and there was a lady, I never even met her. We did 3 events, but I heard there was a lady there for 50 years. She'd suffered and just agonized over losing her baby to miscarriage, and she finally got healing that night. I thought if we went for nobody else, I still don't even know her name, she got some healing. We've had other people that have read the book. There's an older gentleman that read the book, and something kind of clicked in him. He went, he was a miracle. Every time his parents would get pregnant, they would lose the baby, or if they would have the baby, it wouldn't live very long because of their medical stuff. So he was like a miracle baby when they had him. And when he read the book, he finally realized, I'm not an only child. I've got brothers and sisters in heaven. And the older generation, and some of us even in the younger generation, are realizing that, when my mom was sick and lost that baby, I've got one in heaven. I want you to realize our houses are going to be bigger in heaven. So get ready. Get ready. You think your family's big now. It's going to be much bigger, and it's going to be better because there's no fighting in heaven. So you'll be able to get along with all your siblings. I promise. The other thing that's been interesting is we knew we were going to help ladies. We're emotional beings. We carry the baby, so we feel it inside of us. I remember when I was pregnant with Cassie, I would always try to get Todd to touch my belly and say, "Did you feel that? Did you feel that?" And he's like, "No, no, no." But once I gave birth, then I never got to touch him because he was always holding him. And so men and women experience miscarriage different. We as women, we feel it's our fault. It's not. And as men, they suffer a different loss. But what's been interesting and a blessing, we get letters from gentlemen saying, "Thank you so much for writing this book. I didn't know how to deal with it, and you've given me hope that my child's okay. I didn't know how to comfort my wife. I didn't know how to deal with it. I didn't want to cry, but now I've been able to know that I've got my baby in heaven waiting for me." And then we just came back from Brazil. Every event we go to, Todd has a line of people. Colton has a line of girls and grandmas that want to talk to him. Okay, and then when we go to, he went to Mexico, when we go to other countries, they just want to touch him. And for Colton, on the love language for the love touch, he's like a negative 29. I mean, he does not like to be touched. That's not his love language. So it's very challenging for him at these events. We really have to pray with him and talk to him. They're going to touch you, but in a couple hours you can detox from that. So he struggles with that, and he definitely struggled in Mexico. But we have people get in our lines and talk to us, and I always find it interesting when I have gentlemen in mine and want to talk to me. And a lot of times they're talking about, "Thank you so much for sharing your thing about your miscarriage." There was one gentleman in Utica, Nebraska. He goes, "I have a brother and sister in heaven. Thank you so much for sharing." And I get those, and it's just been amazing. But when we were in Brazil, we had a language barrier. Anybody speak Portuguese? Okay. Fabulous. You should have come with us. We were very fortunate. Todd's trying to learn Spanish, and it's harder when you get older to learn languages, so we're really trying to bump our kids learn now, because when you get our age, good luck. But we had the language barrier, and so the other thing, we had to work through interpreter. I'm doing very well this morning. I'm speaking slowly. Usually I have a problem. I talk really fast. But in Portugal, we had to, in Brazil, we had to say a line, and then they had to interpret it, say a line, interpret. So I said the language barrier wasn't a problem. It was the speed barrier. Blah, 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 blah. So I had to really think and really focus, and it was very challenging, and I was very wore out because I'm a very fast talker. And sometimes my daughter talks to me, I'm like, "Slow down, what are you saying?" And then I'm like, "Oh, that's whatever the people think when I'm talking." But we were in Brazil, and I had quite a few come up to and talk to me, because you don't know how your hurt or your message is going to transcend to other cultures. And God has blessed this book so much. The book is actually in 36 languages, and it's really helped. And then we found out, in Africa, they don't even name their baby the first year because they don't even know if the baby's going to make it, which I find, if you don't know by a week here in America, it's like, why didn't you name your kid? What's your problem? But in Africa, and so this couple came out to me. I was done talking with everybody else, and you could tell they were broken. Oh, they were just broken. Fortunately, Rachel stayed with me, and bless her heart, I don't even know how long I spent with them. I just could not stop talking to them. They were so broken. They were only a month out, and I kept looking at them like, how are you even here? They were a month away from their baby, passed away. The baby lived 17 days. They never got to hold their baby. As soon as she had the baby, I took the baby off, put it in an incubator, never got to hold the baby. At 6 months, when they did a sonogram, they said, we have a problem. We don't know if you're going to give birth, so they were very thrilled. They prayed over this baby. They did anointings over the baby, prophesying. I mean, they did all the stuff as Christians we would do. And they were both shaken. Their faith was shattered. We did everything we were supposed to do. And I just looked at them like, oh my goodness, Lord, what am I going to say to these people? And then how do I translate through Rochelle, and how do I understand what they're trying to tell me through a language barrier? I mean, they were so upset with this. They even got rid of every baby thing in their house. And I just looked at them like, these people are broke. They are sad. But not only are they sad that they lost their baby, their faith is shattered. They went to a church, and they definitely loved Jesus, but at that time they were questioning. And she kept telling me she wasn't angry. She wasn't angry. She just didn't know what to do. They did not want to have any more kids. And I was like, what do I say, Jesus? I just like, oh my goodness, how do I do this? For about 30 minutes, I kept talking to him. I prayed with him. I shared several things with them. We tried to talk through things, and then you got culture differences and stuff like that. So trying to work through that through Rochelle, and finally they came to the point like, okay, I think we're going to make it. And I want you to realize you're going to make it. It's not. There's times and seasons for stuff. I like Ecclesiastes 3. There's a time for everything, a season for everything under the heavens, a time to be born, a time to die, a time to plant, a time to uproot, a time to kill, a time to heal, a time to tear down, a time to build, a time to weep, a time to laugh, a time to mourn, and a time to dance. A time to scatter stones, a time to gather them up, to embrace, a time and refrain from embracing, a time to search, a time to give up, a time to keep, and a time to throw away, a time to tear, a time to mend, a time to be silent, and a time to speak, a time to love, a time to hate, and a time for war, and a time for peace. There's going to be times when there's times that I just sometimes cry. Some days are not good. I realize I have a fourth child I never got to hold. And you just got to have those days. But I want to tell you, I don't want you to stay in that fetal position like I did that one day after I suffered the miscarriage. Do not stay in the fetal position. You got to get up because you're still alive. You still have breath in you. You still have life in you. You might have other kids. You might have other responsibilities, but you need to still keep helping somehow get healing. Obviously, you're getting some healing. You came to this conference. There's many books out there to read. But here's a couple other things that I think with Cassie being 18, having the stroke, I had to deal with. Okay, God, are you going to take another one? Do you want her? But really, you've got to realize these kids are not ours. They're gifts from God. And we have this much time with them. And so I want you to celebrate every moment. It's like when Colton went to kindergarten. Someone says, are you crying that he's going to kindergarten? I was like, I know, I'm rejoicing. I thought he was going to make it to 4. I am happy he's in kindergarten. I'm happy he made it to junior high. I'm happy he's in high school. I'll be thrilled when he'll be driving in a month. You've got to celebrate every time and every moment. Instead of say, I didn't get this. I didn't get their marriage. I didn't get to have their grandkids. I didn't get to experience with them. Appreciate what you do have. And boys and girls are different. Like with Cassie, prom and everything else was a big deal, and all our friends were over. With Colton, we got a tie on him, took one picture, and he was, he's off. But celebrate and appreciate every time you do have with your kids. One thing I had to do with Cassie is I'm a night owl, so it kind of worked out. But the most productive time I could talk to her when she was home was 11 o'clock at night. I would go down and sit on her bed and talk and just find out what was going on. Now that she's left, I've been able to spend time with my boys. Unfortunately, both of them want to talk to me at the same time. So that makes it a little, I have 2 ears, but I only can focus on one. And that's one thing I've been trying to do is to really talk. And sometimes Colton says, and even Cassie would tell me, I know you don't want to hear this, Mom, what I'm going to tell you. Listen to them. Because if they can tell you stuff there, they can tell you stuff later. Another thing I think is very important, take pictures with your kids. As mamas, do you have very many pictures with your kids? I'm guilty of this. It was probably in their teenage years I started taking pictures with them. We as mamas are usually taking the pictures, making sure, okay, get in, don't make that face, do that. We had a lady, 26 years old, that died. They had a party. They just redid their house. And the next day she went into, I think she had a heart attack, passed away. She had a less than I think it was a 7-month-old baby. This girl, though, had taken pictures and video with her and her kids, so her baby will know her via virtually, but won't know her. Take pictures with your kids. And I'm very adamant now. I do take pictures. Do you have that? Do you have one? I'm adamant. No, you will take a picture with me. And they're just like, do you have to? That's Cassie at prom. And take time to mourn. Some days you have those days when you just have to cry. Go cry. And then go eat ice cream or something. Just cry. But don't stay in that state. Satan would love it if you would stay in that fetal position. If you stay in that fetal position, he wins. And I don't want him to win. He would love for us to be broken people that never get up. God, you're going to be knocked down. We're not in heaven yet. You're going to keep getting knocked down, and God's going to have to help you keep getting up. We continue, even through Colton's experience, our miscarriage. Cassie, when she had her stroke, once we finally figured out at 18 what was going on, it was like another breath taken out of you. But you got to get back up. How do you make it through? Because you're still living and breathing. And live your life. You are here. You're here for a reason. Love your kids. Love your husband. Love your parents. Love people around you. You're still living. You're still breathing. Our children's pastor passed away about a year ago. She was on her second bout of cancer. If she was one of anybody to complain, it would have been her. Her life it just was not fair. It sucked. But she did not live her life like that. Tuesday, we were setting up for our next unit in children's thing. She was downstairs. We went out to lunch, and she goes, I'm not feeling well. I said, okay, we'll continue setting up stuff and, everything. Thursday, Wednesday they were checking on her. Thursday they kept checking on her. Thursday, we actually had a crew come in, was videotaping us from Nashville. She passed away that night. And she lived every day to the fullest, even though her life was horrible. She had cancer. Her husband was a trucker. Her first son really doesn't know Jesus. She had her second son. He was a sophomore at the time, and one of her things was, I want to live so I can see him graduate. She wasn't allowed to do that. But my thing I got from her is, I live every day to the fullest, and until my very last breath, I am going to live for Jesus. I am going to talk. I'm going to love on kids until my very last breath, and that's what she did. And that's what I want you to do. Don't get stuck in that fetal position. You have to have different times to mourn, different times to laugh, but don't stay in the mourning stage. The sun does come out tomorrow. There's going to be some good, and God will take care of you. Let God use your hurts to help others, because the lie that Satan tells us is nobody else has gone through what you've gone through. And that's the biggest lie he can tell you. There's somebody that's gone through what you've gone through. And I think it's amazing what we can, as different speakers, touch on different griefs. Mine's a miscarriage. Todd has grown up, and his parents are divorced. His dad's manic depressive schizophrenic. I can't address stuff like that. He's been able to help people with that. And then his dad just passed away. So we already have one of the parents that's already passed away. But God can use your hurt. Let him use it. God doesn't waste a hurt. Don't let him waste it. And let your hurt with some healing turn into helping others. I want to go ahead and pray, and then we'll end. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you so much for this day. Thank you for the people that are here. Thank you for their lives. Help them with their hurts. We have deep ones, and Satan is mean and just hits us sometimes with a sucker punch. But help us as we can keep getting up, because as he keeps knocking us down, just keep getting up. And just surround us with your love and your comfort today, and give us some healing so we can help others. In your name, amen.